Good everyone, welcome to another episode of Find Your Front. My name's Cliff Thompson, work at the New Zealand Rugby League and the New Zealand Warriors, and we're here to talk about all things well-being, welfare and wellness, mental health around our beautiful game. Going to swing it over to our co-host, the great man himself, Ali Lawatiri, just to introduce himself, and then we're going to introduce our esteemed guest here today.
Morena, my name's Ali. Good to be here amongst these great men. Talk about what we're now. How do we stay well?
Awesome, Ali. So look, without further ado, we're really privileged today to have one of our Kiwi greats, but also someone that's done a lot, not just in the game, but even outside the game. We're going to hear that whole story today. But yeah, the man himself, Ritchie Barnett, welcome, brother.
Cheers, Cliff. Cheers, Ali. Awesome to be here. Ritchie Barnett. What am I now, 54, Ngāpui descent. Dad is from the south, my mum's from the far north. I lived in Panmure all my life. And left after that, 21 years in Panmure. That's
one side.
East side.
And so just, you made mention there a little bit about your whakapapa.
Yep.
On that, bro, like how often do you get home, whether it's up north, down south? How connected are you back in? And, you know?
Yeah, not so connected. We used to be back in the day where we used to spend 6 weeks up at the far north called Kaimomo, which is probably about 40 minutes from northeast of Karaia. So that was our family land, and spent a lot of time up there. We'd spend either 6 weeks in Christmas, the whole family from all around New Zealand, just to hover in this place. It was insanely good. From me, for being a young fella and surrounded by all my cousins and aunties and uncles, it was just the best way, I think, that I've ever experienced in my life, to be so connected. And then obviously time and structure changes, life gets in the way, and we started to move apart, and life changed dramatically. And you saw that it was an evolution of how that changed over time, and we started seeing less of our whānau. And so that was pretty. I saw it at that time where I thought, wow, what's happening here? Why is this happening? And then you get stuck in your life. Everyone goes back to their pockets, and that's it. You don't get to reconnect anymore. So it's a real shame. But lucky enough, I had 15 years of that experience.
Yeah, nice.
As a young fella.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, you talk about, and we'll probably talk about it a lot today, about the importance and the power of connection.
Yeah.
Even in this corridor around well-being and mental health. Be keen to pick up that thread of conversation around connection and stuff like that.
Connection's really important, no doubt about it. For me, it was actually, I was brought up with 4 other brothers, older brothers than me. And we were all sporty mad. We're named after cricketers. Kai Hardy is Rowan Kai Hardy is an ex-batsman and West Indians batsman. Oh, right. So we all played cricket when we were young. So my dad was loved sport. So he was the coach of our Tamaki Rugby Club at the moment, and all my brothers played together in the same team. It never happens now, right? So we're named after cricketers. And unfortunately, when I was 7, my dad took my 2 other brothers, my 4 brothers, and my 2 other older brothers went to stay with my nana and my granddad. So that was a pivotal moment in my life where they left. He took them away, and I stayed with my mum, and I had a stepfather at the time, so I was the only person living in Panmure by myself, whilst my brothers were living apart. So that was the first time where I went, wow, what's going on here? Luckily, I had a stepfather that came in and really started to work with me around my sport, and he became that really glue person to our whānau. It was really important. But I still had my brother down in Nelson, my 2 other brothers down there, and they were playing amazing sport, and all I heard was on the newspapers writing about how good they were. That's all I had in terms of conversations with them until later on they came back, but it was, that was 10 years later.
And that must be a bit of a challenge, especially being young, not having your siblings around, and if you are connected through things like sport, how is that, not having your siblings there? You touched on it a little bit, but, the challenge around just, being able to rub shoulders with them, because we hear all these stories about brothers that play in the backyard together and all those sort of things. Yeah,
it's a good point. Like, we used to do that all the time. We used to have fights all the time, and it's not unusual, isn't it? And we're so competitive. But I think, lucky for me, I had a really good friends that were around that area. A good mate of mine still is Steve Murdoch. We used to compete, and we were aggressively competitive.
Yeah.
And luckily I found him and a couple other my mates that I lived with in Panmure and around Pakuranga area that I formed really good, strong relationships, and they were outstanding. They were brilliant people. great families, brilliant people, and I guess that helped, partnered by my mum being an empathetic, loving mother, plus a stepfather that had structure, guidelines, and so that worked really well. Sport, obviously, that was an avenue, and that really created desire and discipline. And lucky enough, I went through judo back in the day, so that was a disciplinary sport that I loved. That was at the age of 5 or 6, and then I wrestled when I was 12, so that was another discipline. I went to boxing as well when I was a kid. So all those things added up to who I was today, and it just showed what sort of characterization I was because of those things in my life.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because like we some kids now with probably only no father figure or even a solo mother. You reckon how important it is to have that father figure in your life? As you kind of mentioned it, you've had two, which obviously your dad kind of left. But also he was awesome too, eh? So
Yep.
how important it is to have a father figure in your life.
It's so important for males particularly. I think we need, and it depends whose love you crave the most from either parent, but for males, we need to show, I guess from a male perspective, they need to show love. Unfortunately, back in our day, it used to be never show emotion, never show, never show emotion, and back in that time, but when they have, particularly my dad was always about sport, and I guess that's his avenue. My stepfather was about discipline. My mother had empathy. From a dad perspective, though, I think it's really important that you're there, you're listening, you're available, as much as it was back then, because Dad used to work a lot. Your dad's, that's just the way it was. But it's so important. Most of the counselling sessions from hope that we get is the relationship. We're giving away 160,000 free sessions, is their relationship with their parents. Whether it's amicably or not, it doesn't matter. They make it about themselves, and it's all about the relationship with your parents, particularly your fathers as well. It's a big cog.
Well, like you're sort of getting at, in those formative years, you're learning to navigate the world, relationships, having healthy, determining what that is. Because I think you made mention there that even with your brothers, it's not uncommon that you'd have a fight.
No.
And I think when we talk about relationships, right, we say fighting is not healthy, but actually, right? I mean, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. I tend to phrase it and coin it when I work with people around this, is that actually having a dispute is quite normal. Yeah. It's how you fight, right? And the terms with which you fight in that can determine whether it's a healthy fight or not. I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Richie?
It is. I mean, all aside, I think that's what it was. It's a pecking order, really. Like, I was the youngest and I had to bide my time. And yes, we had fights because it was more competition about doing stuff, and then you'll just get in a hustle, right? And that's what it is, because we're so competitive. I think that's really healthy, and it just bides you time. And for a young person, you just want to, I'm going to get you at some point. I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to be patient. Not that you think that way. It was more like, why am I just sitting here as the youngest one, and I want to get to that stage at one point, but I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to compete, and I will fight when I need to.
Yeah.
It's just the pecking order of life, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I think it's almost like a respect thing as well, and funny enough. But it's more respect that your elders is what it is, just like you do with the elders of the older generation. You respect them, you open the door and you sit down and you listen. And that's the way that we do it as brothers particularly. Oh, actually, brothers and sisters, they fight as well, don't they?
Yeah. Well, they do.
Jeez.
So you made something, and then we'll move through your story, but I just want to pick it up before I forget. You made mention about having this level of competition, this competitiveness in you, right? And I think, in all the different athletes I've spoken to, work with, people that have done well in this space, high performance, they've gotten there. You've got to have this level of competitive nature, right? And even the guys that are the nicest guys off the field, they have this ability to switch on this competitive button. What's your thoughts on that? And why do you think it's so important? And I suppose the third question within those questions are, how do you do that but still keep a level of wellness around how you stay competitive, find those lines?
Find that zone, that zone that we speak about. But I think competitiveness is so important. I think it's getting probably more, softened a bit more because of the way people are brought up now. So I think competitiveness, where does that come from first? Where did mine come from? Like, I was so aggressive in sport, which don't show it, but I was really ultra competitive. And it's probably because of my brothers as well, and we're all in sport. And I think it's that pecking order where the youngest, the oldest, and the middle, where we're always playing in sides that we always wanted to be really good at what we do. Our craft was there, our sport, rugby or rugby league. At that time, we were just, I guess, in one way, pleasing your father as well, trying to please your dad and get that validation from your dad as well. And so that competitiveness was so important. But is it because, and I can't remember if it was, whether you crave the support from your dad, validation from your dad as well. So all of us were competing really hard. We were all trying to be the best we can. And I guess that's part of it. How do you control it? There is ways, obviously, that there are so many tools that you can with control. But I can't answer that because we live in different realms of life. We've been growing up so differently, and whether it's a really good relationship with your family or not determines how that click of the button every brain goes.
Yeah, but then sometimes, like, some people say that it's better to be competitive than, like, it's better to die, like, well, better to not die wondering than, like, you had to go.
Yeah.
Because I reckon you probably won't be well if you played a game and didn't go hard and then lost there, and you're like, oh, man, you'll be kicking yourself more than
I agree.
if you did. So, I don't know.
Do you think it's got something to do with, I suppose, more having an awareness or mindfulness about the environment and the arena that you're stepping into, and like, this is time to switch on, this is time not to be competitive? I don't know, I'm just asking a question.
That's the ideal one.
It's the ideal one, but if you're growing up in a real dysfunctional family environment, your fear is a lot higher than normal, right? It's what it is. That's what it tells us, that your fear response is a lot higher. So you're going to do things from a real fear point, which means you're going to go a little bit further than most.
Sure.
So generally, people that have come from that environment react quite differently. And there's a lot in that, these layers of that, these layers of mental health and well-being and so on, and the toxicity of where they've come from. So there's different ways that they react differently, and from a person that's calm in an environment but very ultra competitive. So there's so many layers to it that we have to just understand where they've come from to understand how can we funnel their energies in the right places to get the best out of them, I think.
Good trigger something too.
That's
all
right.
triggers.
Yeah.
There is trigger ones like don't come off your wagon. Trigger. I love that. Stay out, Richard. I've done it too. Stay out. What are you doing, you idiots? What did I do that for?
100%.
Yeah.
And so you made something which will help us sort of steer forward now. You made mention of having an awareness of where you come from.
Yeah.
And so you talked about your brothers, your family being sport crazy, sort of sport mad. Let's talk a little bit about that. So, because rugby league wasn't your only sport on your radar growing up. What else was the great Ritchie Barnett involved in when it comes to sport? And
I guess cricket was a big one when I came through. I loved cricket. I really loved it, and I scored very high at school when I was a kid. I didn't go to club cricket. I just stayed at school, and I was doing some really good stuff there. Basketball was the other. I played for the under-20s for Auckland, and then for the senior grade, and when I was 21, would have been in what they called the Altos Auckland side then, and I was just sort of starting to get my feet into there, and I was thinking whether I was going to go that way or not, or go to league or rugby. Rugby, I didn't really go into Auckland sides. I don't think league, I didn't really go into Auckland sides when I was a young kid coming through. Softball was big back in the day. I was an Auckland rep then. Touch was the other one, of course, when through the late 80s was huge. It was just dominated sport in this country socially and really competitiveness. So I played for Auckland and New Zealand Open Men's when I was young, and was lucky enough to play with a lot of ex-rugby and rugby league players and Peter Walders and all the touchies. So, and I learned a skill from every sport that I played. Basketball elevation, so I used to train with a decathlete, so we used to do plyometrics when I was in 14, 15, we used to compete together. A mate of mine called Douglas Pirani, we used to train together. And it was like we're brutally competitive, and he was like a machine. Like, you know how the decathletes, they put on muscle and strength was really strong. So I used to compete with him, go to the gym, and we used to sprint around bloody the Panmure Basin. We used to go to Lloyd Ellesmore and sprint there, and so all those things that just came out. And I remember I was dunking, you know, and I remember doing a Michael Jordan dunk, and I love basketball. No, I love elevation. So I remember doing a lean on, like side, you know, from the free throw, and then finally dunked it that way.
Wow.
On a Michael Jordan one, but I think it was lower than normal, so I won't claim that. But yeah, all those things that helped me become who I was, and obviously when I was playing with David Peachy and Matt Rogers, we used to obviously kick all the time, so the elevation really started to work. You know, getting up high in the air and taking the ball at the apex, and we used to do a lot of stuff together. And Peachy was the same, Matty was the same, pretty good elevations too.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it all helps.
Yeah, because it's an interesting conversation about multi-sport, especially young coming through.
Right.
Because so many of our young athletes have pressure put on them to decide, and the pressure is not real. Sometimes because you're great at this. What do you love? What do you want to do? The pressure's because there's a whole family here that need you maybe to go down a path where this is going to create the most income for the family.
Yes.
What's your thought on that, Rich? Like, because like I said, we see so many in this space, so many kids and families that struggle. And we know, and you'll know kids yourself, that they can play 5 or 6 sport and excel in all of them. But they got to make a decision. That decision comes with a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
What's your thinking around that?
Yeah, I think the parents have really got to understand the world and their worldview, and ask the questions: how much pressure you put on them, and what is it that they really want? You know, I think they should be sitting down with them and going, what do you love about the sport, and how can we make it better for you without applying the pressure on you, to let you have your time to develop as a person, and whatever help you need around it, let us know, instead of saying things like, you know, you should go into this because this is where you should go. And I think they just need to be open about it. And so their pressures, and it may not be pressure, some of it will be pressure on them. Some will just perceive pressure around, I need to make it for my family. I need to make it one. What if I fail? So there's all that fail, you know, what if I fail and I don't give what they want? I think they need to come back and sit down with their parents, and both the parents need to lead the way, to be honest. They need to be leaders in this space. Stop putting pressure on them. Stop telling me how good they are, and sit down and have honest conversations and make sure that they are listened to and understood, so they can have the right support around them as much as they can.
Yeah, nice. Important, eh? Like, I mean, how many conversations have we either seen being part of? Yeah,
too many.
Where they don't feel like they've got a choice. You know, and it might, like you said, it might be perception, but they feel like they're trapped and they've got to go down this road. And so it leads me back to you a little bit.
Yeah.
You tell us your story that you played all these different sports. How did you fall into that pathway of not just deciding rugby league as the career path, but sort of your rugby league journey, and then making that decision that rugby league was going to be, of all the sport, the pathway.
And it's good because I actually floated in and out of all sports. So, and it wasn't because anyone was telling me, because back then your parents didn't tell you what to do. You just did it. You didn't have to be told that you go to school and get dropped off. You just did it. Yep. You used to walk to training because you just did. There was no, are you getting ready to go to training yet? I'm going to take your bags and we're all going to go. It's just,
natural.
It's down there.
Yeah.
It's just down there. You go.
Yeah.
Go with it. See you later. That's it. So there was none of that. So I guess for me to make my own decisions was great, because I love the fact that I interweave through all sports and grab some real good skills and around all sport. But it was actually Artie Clark who said to me, when I got bored of rugby when I was playing 20s, and I was sort of going, do I go forward with rugby? And I was at a pivotal time. I was 20. And I went, And then Artie Clark rings, hey, listen, we got the Prems training for 91, I think it was. And he said, do you want to trial? I said, oh, that was it.
Wow.
That was it. And then I jumped into grade, played the first year. I had a real good year, and then had a really good second year and got to New Zealand Māori side. And that New Zealand Māori side had Quinton Pongia, Ruben Wiki, Johnny Lomax, Sean Hoppy, and Jason Lowry, and they all went got signed because they were looking for that size bloke. Back in the day, Canberra and the Roosters were looking for chunky guys that had, and I was the thin one sitting on the edge. And Ruben got signed by the Raiders at the time, but I never got signed. And I was disappointed. Like, I had a really good tournament too. And I went, far out, that's unfair. Like, anyway, life throws it at you. So I stayed back, and then I broke my leg fibula, and I got called up by Arthur Beetson that year, and he said, do you want to come over to play for Cronulla? He was the coach at the time before he got axed to John Lang. And I said, yeah, I will. I'd come over at the end of the year. And that's how it started. That's how that sort of, it took me 2 years to get into grade. And when I played for Otahu to go to Cronulla. And then I spent 2 years, and then I made the Kiwis straight after. So it really moved quickly, that time and space. And I guess it's because of all the other stuff that happened prior to it. It just didn't happen. No. Of course, as we all know. It was all those times when I was 10 to 12, when I was running the roads at 5:30 a.m. in the morning by myself, running the roads, 10 kilometres I grabbed a book from, my mum bought me a book, and my stepfather bought me a book of how to train. And it was an Aussie book. I still got it today. Should have bought it. And it showed you how to train and what to do, and who are the best in the training, who are the high performers. Aussie. So I started reading it, and I started adopting training programs around it, like the kinesthetic stuff, like running, swimming around the ocean. I used to swim around the basin, do triathlons by myself. So I did all that whilst everyone and my mates were going to parties, and I'd sacrifice some stuff as well, but I also partied as well. But there was a lot of sacrifices I made, and a lot of stuff that I used to do, like boxing and wrestling. Wrestling wasn't back in the day. I was wrestling then. Wow. And doing all those things that now sport is starting to implement in, I was doing back then. And I did one thing I was really good at, is like there was vision boards and goal setting. I was a goal setter, and I used to have my whole room littered with the weekly of all the teams. So every time I used to wake up, Michael Jordan was there, of course. I used to wake up, and then I'd see what I really wanted, visually see it, and then I'd action it, and then I always believed that I was going to get there, but it just had to be patient. I never thought I never would make it, but I know there were times where, I didn't get picked, but I never stewed on it. I just said it, just keep going, son.
Well, that was sort of going to be my next question, because you said you dealt a little bit with that disappointment. You see everyone else getting signed, kicking on. I suppose I'm going to ask a two-pronged question is, how did you deal with disappointment, navigate that? And then the second, and you've sort of given us a bit there, but the second one was, where did this mindset come from, the mentality come from, to be young, but to also be so focused, to have a self-belief, to not quit, to be organised, to do the extras, and you talk about giving things up, like, if you can, like, where did you think
I don't know where it came from, to be honest. I think I had a real belief at the beginning that I really wanted to play sport, and I really wanted to, I guess it was when I looked around in our area, I wanted more. I just wanted more from life. And I think just in our area where things were, some of it was good, some of it was bad. It was just a general community thing, and I just wanted more. I saw my brothers go in a different realm, and I wanted to be more successful. Unfortunately, one of my oldest brothers passed away in a car accident, which was a shame. I was 17. He was 19, so we lost a brother, unfortunately, to a car crash. So I had the opportunity to do something with my life as opposed to what they went through, and it wasn't great that they moved in a different direction as I did. So I was always respectful on that they never got to get what I got, and I wanted to do more. And I guess that as a driver in some aspects. I don't know where this other stuff with vision boards, and I don't know where it came from, to be honest. I don't know where it came from. It just was.
You think it was something that, you obviously found it helpful, so you continue to do it. But as you're doing it, you're finding that, hey, this is helpful to me. It's working for me. It could be something that I continue with.
Yeah, I think it was. I think what it did in my favour is that training and playing was a joy. It wasn't a push motivation. It was a pull motivation. It was a push motivation for me. So I used to just go, I love this aspect of training. I love everything. So naturally, it just made me a better person. Like, I'd be so clear in the morning. I used to go to school, and I wasn't smart. I wasn't a smart kid. I was an average kid, and I needed to do a bit more. So I used to go back after a day's work, and I'd spend an hour going through all my stuff. so I could excel. So, because the thing that I had, and this is what this brought it out, because you forget sometimes, I had a fear of, obviously public speaking when I was a kid. I had a fear of failure. So that was the driver. That was the driver. Fear of failure. And I remember when I was a kid, and my mate was a real fast runner, and I was certainly good at athletics in some parts. But I'd never turn up to one, and he knows I told him. I'd never turn up to a race knowing that I was going to come third. I just wouldn't go in it. Not all the time, just some of the time, because of my fear. So that was the driver.
Yeah, but I mean, how endemic is that today with a lot of people, different vocations, right? They just don't, I won't step in and do it because that fear of failure, or I know I'm not going to be able to do that, so I just won't. They rob themselves of an opportunity, which might be just to give it a go, to learn, to get, sort of the experience. Those sort of things are, I see it in so many vocations, and whether it's sport or in the corporate world, people, or
the fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Being judged because you lost. It's only in your head. It is, isn't it a fascinating thing now we look at today? Like, fear is such a big thing in our communities now, where they compare. They're very worried about people judging them. They're worried. Their worldview's so different now, and I that's why I love what we do, is to understand where fear comes. What are your fears first and foremost? I wish I had that when I was a young kid coming through, because I remember trying to do the speaking circuit at school, and I'd be just shivering. Like, I had a genuine fear of public speaking. So I understand what that feels like, and I wish someone would come in and just help me through that process. Fear of public speaking, fear of not being good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, whatever it is. Could you imagine if you're going through sport and there's an anchor that's stopping someone, because we've all had it at some point. If we could understand to unbreak that anchor that holds them back, and it generally is fear, imagine what that could do.
Well, when you think about it nowadays, it's like, back in the day it was just probably the papers. Now it's like social media, so many forums, platforms where you just get all these athletes now getting ridiculed and everything. So,
it's so true though on that age.
It's crazy.
Because they're analysed more and more, and so people are more openly talking about it, where it was, you shouldn't, can just come in, and then there's a podcast, and they're just surrounded by noise.
Yep.
And the papers over there, as you know, in Sydney, is 10 layers deep.
It's pretty intense. All I know is back in the early 2000s, there were 16 teams that had a fear of Ali Lauatiti.
I know that. Imagine trying to defend that. If we take him this way, he'll be able to go. He just did both of those. He just did both those. And
no chance, eh?
That was rich. No chance, actually.
But just aside,
it's so true, though.
Like, on there, Richie, like, if you were talking to your 20-year-old, 19-year-old self now, knowing what you know, because we sit here with you and we see a very smart, intellectual, intelligent man that's lived a lot of experience now and looks back. What would you say to the young Ritchie?
It's a good point. Like, I do it with my son now, where I let him do his thing. I just let him do it. We got support here. We have to ask better questions of him because he's a typical boy. Yeah, no, all good. all good. Yeah. All good. What? All good. What? Yeah. Tell you a little bit. What does that mean? What does that mean? No, all good. Yeah. Well, we got to stop that pattern. It's a shitter. I think if I was to do it again, I wouldn't change much about it. But if I was to do things again, I would lean on the people who have done it before to ask better questions around certain things I was going through that might have helped. Like, for instance, when the facial injury, or coming through chronic fatigue, or maybe talking to a psychologist through a period of time to really amp that up, take it to another whole level. There are so many things that you could do because people go, I wouldn't change it, but I would, because there's a level here that you can go on, and I believe there's another level that you can push through. It's just, what is that level? What is the ceiling to everyone? And we could have gone a lot better. I no doubt there was a 10, 20% more. Lucky that I went through life through those challenges that created the resilience for me to be a better version of myself. And I played all my best sport, I think, over in England, playing in London Broncos at the time before I got chronic fatigue. I thought it was at that prime, that time where you see things differently, where you're mature enough to, and you didn't matter about stuff. You were just, that was it. That was the zone. The zone was there.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to get. Some get it earlier, of course. Yep. Like the likes of Katoa and all those people. Oh my goodness, what a freak.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because as I was over in Sydney this week, I was talking to a guy who's at the back end of his career. He's had a great career, friend of ours, and I just said to him, man, as you're here now, what's different? He said, talked about that zone. He said, I just see the game different. On all my experience now, I've seen it the reps. I've seen it a million times before. Yeah. I know where to be. I know where my sweet spot is. I know how to manage those situations. There's not a lot I haven't seen that, gets me sort of nerved or on edge a bit. So I think there's something in that, like leaning into that experience, trusting process, trusting growth.
Yep.
And we obviously know we can't go back and change what we didn't have at the time. No. But I think that reflection, and then trying to, and I love what you said of, the conversation about the young fellas that say, yeah, all good. I mean, how many of them do we work with now?
It's a shitty pattern that we do. Yeah. We just do, eh? Because isn't that true though? Like for us, like, yeah, all good. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm sweet.
It's a pattern that we've developed, eh?
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism.
It is massive.
Yeah, huge. So I sort of want to take that segue into our real career.
Yeah.
Right. So you come through these challenges. You've shared with us about that, and then now you get to call up Sydney Roosters.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to us a bit about that experience, those years from Sydney to Cronulla, and then
other way around.
Oh, sorry,
yeah.
Cronulla to Sydney, and then how you made your Kiwis debut.
Yeah, cool.
And we'll dive into that a little bit.
Man, I remember the first time playing for Cronulla. So I was sitting in the sheds. It was my first opportunity. The training and all that wasn't a big barrier at all. And lucky enough, all that work that I did before. So I jumped straight into it. The sandhills, running around, it worked for me. So that wasn't a big jump, where some would go into it going, oh my goodness, this is, so they have to battle with that plus playing in the competition. So that was a natural thing for me. I just jumped in. It was, sweet.
Yeah.
Of course harder, but I loved it, every moment of it. The first game against Canberra, I was sitting in there in the sheds, sitting down and going, oh, yeah, this is amazing. Announcement, we could hear it, Shark Park, back in the day, you could hear everything. It was 18,000, the biggest crowd they ever had, 94. And in the fullback is Brett Mullins, Noah Nandruku, Ruben Wiki, Ricky Stewart, Laurie Daly, Brad Clyde, Steve Alders, Johnny Lomax, Quinton Ponga.
Yeah, wow.
It just kept going. I went, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I went out there anyway, and I switched my mind around and go, what can you do now? What can you focus on now? And what's your job? Started to visualize the game a little bit prior to going out, and I jumped out, and we ended up beating them. That's the last time we beat them too. We beat them that game. That was my first debut. I scored 2 tries, and we won it, which is amazing. That just set the tone for the season, and it was just awesome. It was just amazing. And I had some really good people around. We weren't a flashy side. We're actually just a grinding side, We're a pretty basic footy team. We had Dennis Davidson, Danny Lee, Andrew Enhausen was exceptional, Paul Green, Mitch Healy, Matty Rogers later on, David Peachy, and we started to build a side later, but we're a very raw, really tough, compromising side. That's just what we were. Pretty boring sometimes, but that's just what it is. So I learned a lot through that. 2 years I got into 95 World Cup, which is my first tour, and I was just blown away. I loved every moment of being around the Kiwis, because you lived in Aussie for so long, you just want to be a part of that culture again, the Kiwiness. Loved it, playing with my mates, of course, the boys that we played with, New Zealand Māoris and so on, and I just loved that aspect, to be able to put a jersey on for all that hard work that you used to do, and you sit back, reflect, and go, "Wow, I love this. This is me."
Yeah. And so putting that black jersey on, what did that? You'd put a few jerseys on now up to that point, right?
Yeah.
But what did it mean to put the black jersey on, play for your country, represent your family, all those things that we hear about?
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah. For me, it was just of course, for my family, of course, for I guess the sacrifices that mum probably had made, respect to my brother. Dad passed away when he was 70, so that was through cancer. So we had a little bit to do with each other, and he's still my father. So it was nice for him to have that ability to say, that he was a part of it, of course, for all his good and all his bad. You always remember there was a lot good that happened, but people forget that no matter if there's bad stuff around. So I always respect that. Always being respectful around that. And yeah, so it's just all that come together, but more, I don't know, I just felt that hard work does pay, and if you really believe with good support around you that you can do it, and some is luck, yeah, I would say some is luck, but most of it's a lot of hard work, A lot of hard work. And I didn't hear any stuff around me saying you're really good. I just kept my head down. That's what I was, just had my head down, enjoyed it, stay away from stuff, and didn't really read much in papers, and just mix with different people, which I thought was really handy for me. Like I as much as we invest all our time in sport, I pulled away and then had a lot to do with people that weren't league people and rugby people, because I didn't want to talk about rugby all the time. I wanted to sit down and be social on that side. I loved that. My mates are very similar to that. They love sport, but we just talk rubbish. Just something different. Yeah, separation. And that grounds you. It grounds you a lot too. Was there any point in your career that you felt like giving up, or if there was a time where even I don't know if you had doubts in your mind, or how did you overcome that? Any time? I think I didn't have any doubts. I think my mindset was always been a positive. It's always been positive. I've always had that positive mindset around and the way I framed things, I think was pretty cool. I was like, well, that's what it is. Just you're 4 weeks and you're through it. It's time. But I know that, I had a lot of injuries. I think I had a collarbone fracture here. I had both my hands with there and there, tibia fracture, obviously the facial one. I had heaps. And I'd always sort of get back and I'd come back into grade straight away. I've never played second grade. I've never played reserve grade, which is ridiculous, which I like back with injuries. I'd come straight back into it, first grade. And I think it's just because I get myself into a real good shape that there's not a big drop or in terms of performance. I stayed there and I'm fit generally. So that helps as well. It always helps. But yeah.
There's a different kind of winger now, eh?
Yeah, there is. There is. There is. I guess because the game's so quick. In terms of change, I did have that. I had when I had my facial injury. That was probably the first real challenge I had in my life. Where we were good, 29 years of age. We had a real nice house. We had good family. We were very mature. We had a first kid coming on board at 29. My first baby was and mum and my wife, and ready to go. And then this happened at my birthday, 29th birthday. I had obviously shattered my face. I got 10 plates put in there. I was
playing for the Kiwis.
Playing for the Kiwis against Australia I was in Sydney, yeah. And Wendell Sailor, we collided the heads with Wendell Sailor, top of his head right across here. It was a car accident. So I've got 10 plates put in my face. I had a tracheotomy. I was in intensive care for 7 days. And morphine couldn't even do a thing. I remember get transported there. I remember a doctor put his hands in my mouth, and the Mad Butcher was sitting over, actually. He remembers it because I see him there, and there's about 7 people going, and they pulled up, thinking it was a broken jaw, and I just went like that. And they went, whoa, get him off, get him into the ambulance, because it's just a walk around and you jump in the ambulance. And then they morphined me up, and then my head just went, exploded out. And then they took me to Westmead, and then they had to wait for hours before the swelling would do, before they could sort of see what extent damage it is. And they said, it'll be a 4-hour surgery. You've got a few breaks here. And then they opened me up and they went, you're in for 9 hours. You've got multiple fractures, and we've got to piece it all together with titanium, and you're in here for 7 days. And so my life was a change then, and I didn't realise how bad it was, but I knew how it felt, because it was just constant pain for 7 days. Couldn't sleep. I had a tracheotomy that would stick out with a tube. So on every hour, they would suck the saliva and blood out because I'd choke, and every hour for 7 days. So I wasn't sleeping. Pain was ridiculous. And I went, what is going on here? This is an accident. in a sport, I don't get it. But I was just merely surviving. I just couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't see myself because I was flat and I had tubes everywhere and I had a catheter as well. So I just couldn't move for 7 days. And I remember Jason Lowry came in. He was the one that came in to see me, and he walked past and he just didn't, that's not him, came back in and then, and then I couldn't speak, so my jaw was wide completely, so I had about that much of a thing, so I couldn't talk, and that was going to be in there for 6 weeks. And then so then it was just 7 days after, it was just recovery. And to be honest, the part that I wanted the most, I went through a whole 7 months of recovery, and because the World Cup was at the end of the year in 2000, and then Frank was on the phone all the time. We're talking like saying, well, can you play? Are you going to play? I said, mate, I'm just mate, my quad was that big at one point when I left. That's how big my quad was. I lost so much weight. And so I was building myself up, and I got into 3 months, 4 months. I got in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And with that challenge, the resilience and the pain that I went through, it got me to another level. My resilience and my care about things was just ridiculous. I was kicking every training run we'd have for the Kiwis, just went to another level. And World Cup came past. That's when I needed the help. Physically, I was amazing. Mentally, there was a little bit of doubt, of course, and fear around if this happens again, the thinking process around that. That's what I was doing at the time. And I was lying in bed going, I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks prior to the test match against Lebanon, and we jumped out. It was the worst conditions ever. It was the coldest I've ever played in. But I won the Player of the Day there. I scored 2 tries, won the Player of the Day. And although I went through that whole thing, but I was stressed. I was worried about stuff all the time. I was the captain at the time, so people, you're trying to be a leader with fear underpinning it, and performance is at the forefront. And there's a World Cup going on. My daughter was born without me there, so my wife decided, hun, you need to go and do your stuff. You need to go and do it, and just get back on the horse again, while she was pregnant with my wife and a baby when I wasn't there. Spent 10 hours on the phone talking to her while she was having baby.
You wouldn't even know.
Crazy. But to that point, because we said right at the beginning of this, right? Maybe even before we jumped on here about, I'm not suggesting that you were, but I think a lot of people struggle with the sincerity and the honesty of what's actually going on, the masking stuff, right? Yeah. So you mentioned you're the captain, which is the leader. You've got to lead these guys, representing a country. That she'll be right, I'm all good.
Yeah.
But then you've just openly told us behind it, right? There's all this fear of what if it happens again?
Yeah.
Worry,
wife's having a baby at home. I wasn't sort of, I felt guilty to a little degree, but I knew with her validation to say, you need to go and do this to get back on the horse again, and break that fear to get back on. But you're right, there was so many things. I was probably a little bit off sometimes to go and get a ball, and then I'd just do it and not. But there was a 5%, and I guess that being probably a perfectionist to some way, but I guess that's part of it, is if I had someone to come in and go, I want to break this fear, so you get out there and you got no worries. You're just humming. You're ready to roll. Yes. Well, what could it have been?
So you didn't have anyone?
No, I didn't know about psychologists. I didn't know about. I had no idea about that. It was just the day was just you just did it.
Now you have a mental coach. Being person.
Yeah. If I had that, it would have been all over it. Seriously, I would have been there earlier. And knowing that what they can do and where they can take you is, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you take that on? Why wouldn't you do it?
And I mean, I work with guys at the moment that, like you said, know that it's available and press into it straight away, because why wouldn't you? If you can look after your physical performance and take every 1% edge you can, why wouldn't you look after the mental side of it, And so, but bro, it's so powerful and interesting to hear not just what you were going through, but your own insights into yourself around, recognize it now and you think what would have been different and what would have changed. But what was it that did help you push through? I mean, because you still got up and you say, then you go and play that first game back and you score 2 tries. And what was it that helped Ritchie Barnett face that fear, move toward it?
Yeah. I guess it certainly wasn't on the radar, I tell you. It was during that 3 months, it was just, no, leave me alone. Just, and it really was that stage. It really was. It was that stage whether I'm going to continue with playing ever again, and just getting through life and making sure that we've got other things more important than the sport. So that sort of made me realise how important it was from a health perspective, how important our health is. That's where it started to hit home real in an interesting way of, wow, this is happening to me. I didn't really have much support with the Roosters because I don't think anyone knew how bad it really was. And it's no disrespect to what they didn't do. It's just, that's what it was. Just what it was. And no one did, to a degree, because I was stuck at home and I was just trying to get through it. Brian Fletcher actually came over and he freaked out. He couldn't believe how bad it was. So he came over and he went, because I looked completely different. It was just unrecognisable. And it was just, I think it was for me, it was giving myself time, and then once I feel right, then I'll make a decision. It was on my terms. It was on no one else's terms. And it was just that time where I made a decision that I felt physically right, mentally right. I felt good. So that means I'm ready. My body's ready. My mind seems to be really good until I hit that time when I'm actually going to play soon. And that's where I needed the help. But all through that was on my terms, making sure my body's right. Physically and mentally, I was ripping it. So that's when I made the decision with Frank Endicott. I'm ready to go again.
Yeah.
And that's on my terms, not on anyone else's.
Tony Carroll.
Yeah, Tony Carroll. Tony Carroll.
There's a player.
Holy. Yes.
Remember that meeting we had and he pulled out his rings?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That just to show you.
Yeah.
Bit of street cred, eh?
Yeah, that's what you do, eh? When you got...
Yeah, what do you say? Yeah.
Eh?
No, then he goes, hey, that was funny.
tell it.
Yeah, he goes, hey, Frank, before a game, I normally have a drink the night before. Beers.
Yep.
And we're like, what?
That's right.
And then he goes, this.
That's right. It was
What do
more
you
like
say?
6 or 7 beers. It was more 6 or 7, not a couple. Oh, yeah, that's why.
Crack up.
I love that. No, unfortunately, couldn't do that. Say that. Yeah, so
from there, you come back, you play, but then we were sort of talking outside of this as well about your other health condition.
Yep.
So you moved to the Super League.
Yep.
So take us there. And
yeah, London
happens?
Broncos signed with Jimmy Dimmock, Jason Hetherington, Tony Martin, Nigel Roy at the time. They were recruiting for a lot of the Aussies to come in and see if they can bolster up the London Broncos team. Did okay. We were mid-table. Lucky to sign there. They signed me knowing that I had this injury, and they were, bit of a risk. And then signed me for 2 years, and I did extremely well for the first year. Halfway through the second, I went down. We were training in Gosford. I got really sick for 3 days, bedridden in Gosford prior to the second year with the London Broncos. We were training in Gosford, thankfully. Got really sick again, and then that spurred on the chronic fatigue, and it never stopped. It was post-viral fatigue syndrome, so it's chronic tiredness. It was, I don't think I've had any other symptoms if I can remember rightly. It was mainly the chronic fatigue that got me. So every time I used to wake up, and I was the fittest in the team at the time, and then progressively got worse. And it was like putting a 50 kg thing on your back and told to run. And I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't explain it. And then I went to a specialist finally at 6 months, but that was 6 months of going through it all, going, what is going on? What have I got here? Go to the doctor's, blood test, you're fine. No. This is not right. This is my performance, the way I feel. Fatigue is real. It's bad. I used to sleep all the time. I used to go home, close the doors and sleep for hours. Wake up, feel the same. Tired again. And I'm going, what is this? No one could tell me what it was. So I went through 6 months of uncertainty, not understanding what I had. Why is this happening to me? My performance is going down the hill. I couldn't even go across the paddock trying to chase. I was merely getting through games, and it got progressively worse. And I finally got it diagnosed as post-viral fatigue syndrome. And then I had to take time off and I did. I took the rest of the year off. Came back the next year and played the rest of the end of the year, and I went home, got some sun on my body, and I felt better. signed with Hull and had a real good year that year, and then it got worse again. To be honest, played 60% of how I should, and I played all right over in Hull, but I knew I was starting to go downhill. I remember I couldn't even speak to a journalist at one point. He was asking me questions. My confidence got so low that I couldn't even talk to you about it. I couldn't even sit there, and I'd be all over the place going, firstly, I can't comprehend what you're saying because you got cognitive fatigue and you forget stuff, so you can't even. So I'm sitting there going, I'm really nervous, and I was still playing, and it just took a nosedive big time, and it was all because of chronic fatigue. Mental health just went down the hill. I was lacking confidence. My world turned on real quick, and I could not understand it for the life of me. Seriously, it was the most debilitating silent illness I've ever had to deal with. It was that hard.
Sure.
That hard. Yeah. And I just wish I could have just taken something to get rid of it. I love playing sport, and I was playing 60%, but I just knew that if I kept going, I'm going to drive myself to that bedridden chronicness of it where you cannot get out of bed, and I didn't want to do that. So I retired in 2004 and came back to New Zealand. And so living out with 12 years is probably the most interesting time. Can you imagine? I remember coming back to New Zealand, and I was working for Māori television. And when we're doing commentary, you have to think on the spot real quickly and come up with something real quick. Imagine me with chronic fatigue. So I planned, read everything, and blah, 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 prep, yep. And then come up and go, I can't remember anything. And then just go, I don't know what I'm going to say here, but I'm just going to, hopefully that comes out right.
Wow.
That's not what I wanted to say. Yep. It was, again, I think my recovery was stalled because I was going through TV as well. As much as it's fun and all that, you sort of play around, but it's still a bit of pressure. Yeah. And you still have to think cognitively, so that drains your energy. And so I was going through it, not realizing that for me to recover, I need not to do this. I didn't realize it. I was just going, well, I need to work. Yeah. I like working, but I need to do something. And that's what I ended up doing. But 12 years with it, that's why I'm so passionate about chronic fatigue and ME, because I've lived with it and I know what people are going through. It is the most debilitating illness I've ever seen. Yeah. And it affects 75,000 people in New Zealand. 35 of that is ME and chronic fatigue. The rest is long COVID, which is very similar.
So with that, Rich, like, is it, because you talk about now living with it for so long.
I haven't got it anymore.
Oh,
12 years after.
12 years.
Yeah.
And then.
So how did you manage, like, at the time?
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually... What is
it is actually managing it. So I used to, I got into business and stuff, and I seriously, I was just there. It didn't make sense to me. Cognitive, I wasn't even there. So basic, it is. So I did a lot of things, but with chronic fatigue, you need to take time out. You have to manage it, or it'll manage you. So you can't go out. So I used to love training, so I'd go to the gym for 15 minutes and do bugger all, but it made me feel good. If I was to do a session there, which I couldn't anyway, I'd come back and I'd just hit the wall. You're stripping all that energy out, and you've only got a resource of a little bit sometimes. That's why people go, they say when you've got a little bit of energy and you go out and you go, I've got energy, I want to go out and do things that I do, because all the people that I talk to are high performers that have got it. They never stop, they never rest. And so they basically, if you've got a little bit of energy, you go out and you okay, and they come back and they two days they're in bed just go. So it's managing it, understanding it. What can you do with it as well? So I learned so many tools. I'm a Wim Hof way back, cold therapy, warm therapy, saunas, mindset, healthy eating, micronutrition, macronutrition, all those things that I've learned all over the years. I implement it at little bits as I go and ensure that my immune system's spot on. So that's 80% of all illnesses stem from dysfunctional immune system. So I made sure I invested a bit into that first, and then I started working on exercise in different ways and started to build myself up. But it took a while to get there. And then I went to a Tony Robbins course, and then I did NLP to hopefully, going through 12 years, I thought I created patterns. So I decided to do more around mindsets. I went to Tony Robbins, did NLP training, and so I'm a practitioner. and they'd just added bits and bobs along the way. Yeah.
Well, and I know we talked about it as well a little bit before we come on here to talk about this stuff, but maybe speak to how this comes on for someone, like, because I think you were saying that it's not one thing, or but just your insights on that might be helpful.
I believe in my mind is stress creates a lot of things in people's lives, whether it's financial stress, relationship stress, just stress at work. And I know we push our bodies to a lot in sport. We don't realise that, sometimes you just got to take that rest sometimes, but we just keep pushing. Depends how you're wired, eh? Just keep push. Yeah, I got to keep more, do more. Yeah, keep pushing to the end. But it happened to me because of, I think, going through my facial injury and then getting back on the rugby league field and through the World Cup. I personally think it was through that. My body was never rested. And that stress that I put on for those 6 weeks of the World Cup transferred onto playing again afterwards, and it just kept going. And I don't think my body was recovering. So the Hashimoto, that's a dormant cell. If that's unearthed either by stress or whatever it is, trauma, then it could cause havoc. And that's probably what it is. It's an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease now is getting there. It's skyrocketing up. All different types of autoimmune disease now that are happening, and there's so many variations to why it happens. I think stress is definitely the balance in life, the food we're eating, all those come into play. It all has an effect now.
Hello, M&D.
Hey?
Was it the M&D? Was it that?
McDonald's.
No. Yeah. Oh, is there a new one? Yeah, motor neuron. Yeah.
There's quite a few.
There is actually, yeah. And that's part. I have had quite a lot of head knocks, so I'm mindful of that. Yeah. I'm really we lost Paul Green, good mate of mine. We lost Adam Marr, good mate of mine, to motor neuron. Paul Fisher from Cronulla, he died of motor neuron. So I had 3 guys that I play with motor neuron. So what I do now is obviously the eating factor, and I go to hyperbaric chambers. So I add that into the toolbox just in case, obviously, because we've had so many head knocks that I just add things along. And I still have fun, don't worry, man. I love a drink, I don't mind it. But I do a lot of good things along the way, just so I'm sure that, things are okay. And I still train, I still do Broncos, I still do the odd time, just go for walks in the bush. And so I still do all that stuff, and I love, and I'm able to do it because I've got no inflammation, I've got no soreness in my knees or anything, I've got nothing. So I'm lucky and blessed to be able to do that.
I think one of the things I picked up in this whole conversation, Rich, is that you mentioned it early, actually, which is always, I think it's come through that you've always, if I put it this way, you've looked after home base quite well, right? So you've always done the basics right, looking after your body. You talk about that, doing all those little things. Yeah, looking after, then, a lot of these specialists that are in this space now didn't exist back then. So you sort of did the work to try and look, you always sort of seems like you were looking for stuff, development, to look after home base.
Yeah.
How important now you sit here, we're sitting there talking about this today.
Yeah.
Looking after that home base sort of thing. How important is that? Yeah,
I mean, we've heard the, put the oxygen mask on yourself, whereas you can't really help out others. We've heard that, and it is used and it's overused, and it's great. I think it's very important. And I think if your body's humming and you've got a lot of energy, that means you can do more for others as well. The art of living is giving, isn't it? So we can do more for others, and of course, ensuring that you're right, making you feel good. Then you've got, then you can. Your relationship's going to be better. If you've got stress and on you as well, your body can absorb it and get through it better, and you can do more, you can give more. So, but if you're not and you're just humming, I'm okay here, well then your level is going to be a lot less to absorb the trauma and the stress that you may go through. And we're going to get it, and we're going to get not one, maybe layers of those and stacking of events that's going to happen in our life. Our body's got to be ready to take it on, and we just got to be ready.
Dirty from an empty cup, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And so maybe sort of as we near the wrap up on this, like now in your life, what are you involved in? We know we see you all over TV doing commentary and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, what are you involved in your in your everyday life? How'd you get into the commentary stuff and the TV and all that sort of work? Would be really cool to hear.
Yeah, so I'm obviously Sky TV. I'm glad to be back on there again. It's interesting. It's a different field to get back into now. So I'm doing that. Obviously, I am Hope. I've been there for 3 years as a partnership manager there with Mike King and the crew. Amazing. So we're a youth mental health charity. We're there to challenge stigma. Normalised counselling is just a conversation away from a proactive crisis intervention to a more proactive intervention. Use it while there's little problems as opposed to big problems. So I love that aspect of it. We run in-school programs. We give free counselling away for anyone under 25 or over 5. It's free. Government funded that part of it. I love that aspect. I love the fact that we can get around and talk things like podcasts like this. Really, it does spread the word and awareness around. Everyone goes through their stories, and we need to understand a bit more about normalising that life has got challenges, and hopefully we can get the tools and the support we need to get through it. So, and I guess this is why this is so important. I do an online health wellness thing as well. I love doing that as a side of it. For the New Zealand Chiropractic College, I've got I give away a 5-year, in partnership with the college, a 5-year scholarship for kids that are coming through Māori Pacific. And they get a $10,000 living cost for that as well, plus a 5-year scholarship to the college. I love that. I think because I know I've always wanted to be a physio or a chiro, and I didn't know how to do it. So that gives them an opportunity to get a leg up. So that's basically what I'm doing. And just a father of 2, of course. So my 2 kids live away from Caesar, unfortunately now. Fortunately, because they're living their dream. My wife's a teacher. My 2 kids, and one's in LA and one's in Service Paradise. So we're in a pretty good space. Yeah.
Oh, nice, Brett. Yeah. Awesome to hear. I'm gonna fire what we call fast 5 at you. It's just five questions, right? Yep. Give us what comes to mind first, and then we'll do a bit of a wrap up at the end of that.
Sweet.
The first one is best advice you ever received.
I think getting good advice. That's a good thing, isn't it? I reckon getting smashed by a full Gould after a game, and I thought it was going all right, but
he told you,
and it was against the Warriors actually. Yeah, it was. And I was going, this is cool. This is cool. I was bouncing around like an idiot, and I was going 10 ways sideways and about 2 meters forward, and I got absolutely caned after it. And that's probably sometimes good that you need a little bit of a knock.
Yeah,
a little bit of grounder.
Fair.
Yeah,
love it. All right, for you, pre-game ritual that you swore by if you had one.
Never did.
Never did.
Sleep.
There you go.
Sleep's good.
Favorite post-game meal?
Oh, I would love the roast. A roast is my one.
Oh,
yeah. Interesting. Well, Italian. We used to go out and have Italian straight after. Sorry, that was Italian. Yeah, bolognese. That's it. Bolognese. That's it. Anywhere Italian.
Carb loading. All right. What about a song that gets you going? Used to get you going before. Did you have a song?
A song?
Headphones on?
No.
No?
No, I wanted to sleep. And just calm the body, then move up. No, there was no music that sort of got me going.
Okay.
Tina Turner.
Well, that would be one.
All right, this one. What's one word to describe the version of you that came through the hardest season of your life? You boil it into one word. Describe.
Drive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bro, I think to be fair, I think that's come through loud and clear in your auditor with us today. It's been really powerful. Thank you. Ali, before we wind up and then I give the last words to Ritchie, is there anything you want to add or say?
Nah, thanks for coming on, bro. You're a legend. Real good role model for us young ones coming through in the grades, but also hopefully that someone's going to listen in and know that it is good to speak and talk to someone when you argue for some tough times. But love your story. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And for you, Rich, just from me, I think, man, the depth, the knowledge, I think the growth that you've been able to share through your own story, but then also the willingness to be transparent and to share it on here. We know these platforms can, sometimes it's a soundbite that just helps someone take that next step that they need, and you give someone the courage and the confidence to do it. in the times, because we sometimes know what it's like to not have it, right? And so someone else does it for us, and it just leads the way. So, bro, thank you for all of that. Thank you for making the time to come out here with us and hang out and have a bit of a laugh as well. It's always good.
Always good.
And and appreciate all the work that you're doing and continue to do in our space, advocating not just for athletes, but I think for anyone that's going through a bit of life stuff that just needs to talk to someone, and all the work you're doing with I Am Hope, like it's all special stuff. And if there's anything that you'd like to say to end off. And
well, I think I'm blessed to be able to sit here and talk, and use this as a platform, as you said, to bring more awareness, so someone that's listening to be able to realise themselves in our stories and see if they can reach out. And remember, if you are struggling under 25, Gumboot Friday platform is free counselling for anyone under 25. So use that. In my opinion, that's there available.
Awesome. And with that being said, that's it from us. Like Ritchie said, there's all these resources and help support systems out there. So tap into them. And we'll see you next time on Find Your Front.